Good morning, my name is François Gauthier. I'm a French journalist and writer. I live in India. I have the privilege to live in your country. I don't know how many Westerners can say that. I have the privilege to live in your country, and I'm grateful for whatever your country has given me. Now, as a journalist and a writer, I have been a defender of Hindus for 30 years. In my articles, in my books, today I'm building a museum of Indian history in Pune, which portrays the history of Hindus as it happened, with the heroes and heroines which are well led in most of your history books like Shivaji Maharaj or Ahilyabai or Maharana Pratap, and also the Hindu Holocaust, which is totally unknown, which is very real. Probably the greatest genocide in the world ever is that of the Hindus, but nobody knows about it. So in that museum, I'm trying to show that. Now, as I have been a defender of Hindus for so long, I may be allowed to criticize Hindus. The greatest enemies of Hindus are Hindus, not Marxists, not Christians, not Muslims, but Hindus. We can see that India could never have been invaded without Hindus betraying Hindus. Whether it is Alexander the Great, who made an alliance with the king of Taxila against Porus, or whether it is the last great Hindu kingdom of Vijayanagar, a great kingdom where goodness and arts and dharma prevailed, and which was betrayed by Hindus, by Lingayats, and ended up in a massacre. One of the greatest massacres ever of Hindus happened in Vijayanagar. And even today, you can see that most of the statues in Vijayanagar have had their ears and nose chopped. The statues were so enormous, and so many of them that they could not destroy them all, but they all chopped their nose and ears. Now, even today there was an attack recently by Muslims on the Hindu shrine. So Hindus have betrayed Hindus, and it's still happening today. Most of these intellectuals and journalists, and the media, most of them are Hindu. 98% of those who criticize today the BJP and the Hindus and Mr. Modi are Hindus. There's no point in accusing Muslims, because the worst enemies of Hindus even today are still Hindus. Now, I have also criticized Islam for 30 years, for good reasons, because I saw firsthand in Kashmir, when I covered the Valley of Kashmir, how peaceful people, who had never done anything wrong, who had never harmed anybody, never fired a bullet, never killed anybody, were chased out of the Valley of Kashmir by Muslims just because they were Hindus. So this opened my eyes, and I started looking at Islam differently, and I saw that it happened also in Afghanistan, it happened in Bangladesh, it happened in many countries in the South Asia. In Bangladesh, as you know, Hindus were like nearly 40% in 1947, but today there are 5%. So there's been also there a genocide of Hindus. So I have criticized Islam a lot, but at the same time, let me praise Islam a little bit and compare it to Hinduism. Now, Hindus never care for each other. We see that Mother Teresa came and was able to, open so many orphanages in Calcutta because she picked up dying people, old people dying in the street. She picked up orphans, Hindus that no Hindus wanted to help. So there is also in Hinduism a great selfishness. Whether in Islam, if you're a Muslim all over the world, and if you say Salam Alaikum, doors are open, people give you food, they give you shelter eventually. There's a brotherhood of Islam that doesn't exist in Hinduism. Try saying Om Namah Shiva in New York to another Hindu. He'll probably, turn his head or turn her head and walk away as if you're a mad person. But when I traveled, I drove from Paris to Pondicherry the first time I came to India, and I remain in India since ever. And I had my best friend was a Muslim French from Morocco, and whichever country, Muslim country we crossed, whether it was Turkey or Iran or Pakistan even, he would say Salam Alaikum, and people, were so welcoming. But it is not true of Hindus. Also, Muslims, any Muslim in India today will teach the children the Quran. Make sure that the children know about the Quran. We know that, it damages, in the long run it's a damage, because the Quran was written, in the 7th, 10th century, and it was written for at that time it was fine, but today it's totally outdated. But Muslims today make sure their children know the Quran. Now do Hindus teach their children the Bhagavad Gita? How many Hindus out of 1 billion Hindus teach their children about the Bhagavad Gita, one of the greatest scriptures ever, that could be the Bible of humanity of the 21st, 22nd century? Very, very few. Very, very few. Muslims make it a point, that their children speak Urdu. Now, Sanskrit has become one of the greatest languages ever. People even today say that it's a language of software. It's a language of the future of mathematics. Do we teach our children Sanskrit? What, 2%, maybe 2%? So Islam has got good points also. In Islam, you're taught not to drink. I'm married to an Indian, and she comes from a upper class modern family. Her cousins are clueless about their own culture. A bottle of whiskey, or going abroad and settling abroad is their idealism. Look at Islam. They keep to their roots. They try to teach their children. So we see that Hindus also are the most undisciplined people in the world. That they break queues, they litter. They litter India. I still see today, Hindus, without a thought, throwing plastics and garbage, break the queues, and cheat. Hindus are some of the greatest cheaters in the world. Even today, the rich, they cheat so much. It was okay, under Indira Gandhi when, rich people were taxed 90%, but today, Mr. Modi has liberalized the economy. You are not taxed more than, we are in France, 40% maybe. And still people are cheating today, from the poorest, to the richest. So cheating and littering, a lack of civic sense, I have seen often in India, an accident, nobody stops. Once I was driving with Sudhindra Kulkarni, who was Mr. Vajpayee's right-hand man, and there was one guy lying on the road, knocked down by a car. Nobody stopped, nobody stopped. So we understand that Hindus have suffered a lot, and there's a sense of, of disorder, of everyone for oneself, so, but today, it's not needed anymore. There's no need to cheat. There's no need to litter. Mr. Modi is trying to change India. And Hindus are not cooperating. The people that have elected him, the people, that are the basis of India, the biggest community, is not cooperating enough. It's not enough to elect Mr. Modi. You need to help him. You need to stop littering. You need to stop cheating. So it's very important that Hindus develop a civic sense. And otherwise, this country will never take off. Mr. Modi will be a single effort, but it will ultimately fail. We see today that the Swachh Bharat may have succeeded in some places, but in many other places, in Bangalore, in Pondicherry, so many places I travel to, it's worse. People continue littering without a second thought. People continue cheating without a second thought, and these are Hindus. So there has to develop amongst Hindus a sense of brotherhood, a sense of sisterhood, a civic sense. What can I do for my brothers and sisters? Very few Hindus think in that way. It's all for myself, my children, my courtyard. I clean my courtyard, I look after my children, but the rest can go to hell. It's not so in Islam. If you say anything against Islam, you're dead. We saw what happened in Paris with the Charlie Hebdo people. So you can say anything against Hindus, and no Hindus take it up. I mean, there's a little bit now, a little bit more of nationalism, but as a whole, you can say anything against Hindus. I'm not saying you need to kill people who criticize Hinduism, but you need to stand up for your culture, for your religion, for your people. You need to defend your people. The Kashmiri Pandits who have become exiles in their own country, who cares about them? Not even this government. They're worth nothing. 4 lakhs people, who cares about 4 lakhs people in India? So Hindus need to develop a civic sense, a sense of brotherhood like there is in Islam. Otherwise, this country will not change. And we need you. 1 billion Hindus in the world, 1 person in 7 on this planet is a Hindu. They need to stand up now, be proud of their culture, and stand for their brothers and sisters. Namaste.